He's guilty of something. He's lying about weird stuff. I don't know how to send a file. What do you mean? You run an entire AV company. You know how to send a file over the internet. Well, I'm scared Google might hack me. What? You're scared Google's going to hack you to release more footage of Charlie dying? That makes no sense. Nothing made sense, and I will never pretend it made sense. And I'm following my gut on Terrell Farnsworth, okay? And I expressed my gut, not just to you and back at home, but I also expressed that to Erica and Justin Strife when we were sitting in the meeting. I said, I'm not taking my foot off of that pedal. No. I do think that it's worth stating before we get into this that me finding the behavior and the conversation that I had with Terrell to be extremely suspicious is not, of course, an invitation to harass him or his family. I'm against that, and I'm saying that because apparently he is receiving death threats. That was told to me, that he's receiving death threats because people want answers. Now, not ever do I ever want that to happen. I don't want people to watch this show and partake in that. Nor do I think you guys are partaking in that, but I'm just saying that. Like, on this show, we sentence people to truth, to more daylight. And the reality is that I don't trust people who lie repeatedly to me over the phone. I don't. He was acting guilty during a time when I had no indication one way or the other whether or not Turning Point people would be involved in a cover-up. And for clarity, I want to show you guys this as well exclusively, a still image of the much longer video I have that was shown to me of Charlie from behind. Okay, this is the video, and you can see what we have there. That's Charlie's necklace that's hanging. There's no blood on Charlie. There was absolutely no blood on Charlie. Not only did the bullet not go through, it didn't even cause any sort of destruction. And I follow that video until he goes down. There's nothing that we would expect to see from a 30-06. And again, I have a close-up of this. That's his chain. There's no question that what you are seeing there is his chain. And the only blood that I saw was blood in his hand, which was spurting forward, to be clear. This doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't make sense to the narrative. Doesn't make sense to anybody that knows anything about guns. It just doesn't. Okay, Charlie was in pretty good shape, except for where he had the wound on his neck that we all saw, the graphic video that we all saw that was circulated online. Now, I'm going to add here that another person who I do not trust at all, for many reasons, because one of them being he's a sexual deviant. He's also been indicted for crimes by the state of Arizona, federal crimes, for which he was recently pardoned by President Donald Trump. I think it's fair to assume that a person who commits crimes in the past might commit crimes in the future, or I guess allegedly committed crimes. I think those court cases are still moving through. I think that's a perfectly logical assumption that a person who's involved in doing the wrong thing might keep it up. A person that seems motivated by money, a person who factually was in debt and was having his payments garnished at Turning Point USA, who then blinks and becomes a millionaire working for a charity, might be a little bit shady. I think Tyler Boyer, it is a logical conclusion that he is at best a very shady character. I'm going to stand by that. 10 toes down. Now, because I was hyper-fixed on Tyler Boyer, I decided to ask Erica in person during our sit-down how she met Tyler. It was actually, I had 3 questions when I went in there that I wanted to get the answer to. That was actually my number 1 question, because I don't know much about the story of how Tyler met Charlie Kirk. And I now desperately wish that I remember, I could remember what Charlie told me about that. How did they get linked up? And I felt that me asking Erica that question, she might be able to provide a lot of insights to who Tyler Boyer was during the time he was with Charlie Kirk, why, maybe even before he was with Charlie Kirk, and why he got involved with Charlie Kirk. And of course, as we know, Erica knew Tyler for years before her and Charlie began dating, right? Both she and Tyler have been honest about that fact, particularly citing Trump's 2015 presidential rally as an event where the two of them attended together, right? Standing behind Donald Trump in Arizona at his 2015 July rally, which I should mention also her mother, Lori Francevy, is in the background. So the 3 of them have known each other since at least July 2015 publicly. So I asked Erica how she met him. Her answer was that she met him at the 2015 rally because they were both standing behind Trump. And I immediately corrected her. I said, that's not possible. It's not possible because Tyler discussed knowing you already at the, if we're calling it funeral rally, do people, I don't even know if that's kind of what it was, like a funeral political rally. Tyler got on stage and he told the audience that Erica had called him asking how she could get involved, and that he then made a decision to put her behind Donald Trump. Here is Tyler making that statement in his own words at Charlie Kirk's memorial.
At his wedding, I told the story of talking Charlie into moving to Arizona. He was an adamant Chicago boy. I needed to break that. Selfishly, I wanted him to love Arizona because I had recently convinced him to move Turning Point USA to Arizona. It was a hard sell at first, and that was until I hosted the first Trump rally in Trump rally history right here in Arizona in 2015. I got a call. I got a call from Miss Erica Kirk, Miss Arizona 2012. I just want to help, she said. So naturally, I put her right behind the president at that first rally.
Okay. So she called, she said, I wanted to help, and he put her behind the president. So I'm sitting with her, and she doesn't remember how she met him, but she said that she would look back through her old messages because, like me, she never deletes any of her messages. And she thought maybe, specifically, she said that they had a connection in politics via a senator or a congressman. That's what she said. Now, in hindsight, after that meeting, because I have continued to prod the narrative on Terrell and Tyler, I believe that's accurate. I thought, that's interesting. Who were the congressmen? Who were the congressmen that Tyler maybe knew? Well, I should tell you guys that Terrell Farnsworth and Tyler Boyer go back. They go way back. I'm talking generationally back, okay? Terrell Farnsworth's parents went to high school with Tyler Boyer's parents. They're all from Chandler, Arizona. And then Tyler Boyer and Terrell Farnsworth went to high school together. They graduated, it looks like 2 years apart from Gilbert High School. So these two are thicker than thieves. They are overtly political, obviously. In fact, at that very same Trump rally in 2015, Tyler Boyer introduces himself as the youngest chairman of the Republican Party. He's very involved in Arizona politics. And like he said, he's telling the truth. He was the reason that Charlie decided to put Turning Point USA's campus in Arizona. Charlie's from Chicago, right? That's where they first started Turning Point USA, in Chicago. Tyler has been driving this bus and, like I said, hiring the people around Charlie Kirk. Except for me. That really just, I was the anomaly. We really just met. And I wonder if it would have happened if, Tyler was there. Anyways, the point here is that Tyler Boyer was very well acquainted, obviously, with Terrell on a familial basis. And he was very close with Terrell's family, particularly Terrell's uncles and cousins. Terrell's father is a man named Dwayne Farnsworth, and his first cousins are longtime Arizona Congressman Eddie Farnsworth. I believe he left office in 2022. And also his brother, Eddie's brother, is David Farnsworth. So just to reiterate that, you have Senator David Farnsworth. He's still in office. You have Eddie Farnsworth, who was the chairman of the state House Judiciary. And those two men are brothers and first cousins with Dwayne Farnsworth, who is Terrell's father. And they are extremely close to Tyler. In fact, Eddie has actually been sued in the past with Tyler. Like, they're on the same side. They are being sued together. You can go back and you can mine all of this. He has known that family for a very long time. Anyway, in 2014, Senator David Farnsworth introduced Erica's mother to the House floor with concerns over EMPs. Okay. At the time, David Farnsworth was actually sponsoring the bill, a bill which would involve introducing Lori, who was then the CEO of G-Tech Industries. And Eddie Farnsworth is also listed as having voted on this particular bill. They got it passed through. So the three of these people knew each other. Eddie, Lori, and Dave. And you can see here at the top, when you look at the members present, it says E. Farnsworth, Mr. That is Eddie Farnsworth. And then if you scroll down, if you see here, it's telling you who's sponsoring this bill. That is David Farnsworth. And it says that he became concerned about a potential for an EMP event a short time ago. And he got support from Congressman Trent Franks. And it then tells us that he introduced Larry Ginta, Chuck Lee, and Lori Francevy, the CEO of G-Tech Industries. Larry Ginta, by the way, or Gwinta, I don't know if I'm saying that right, is Erica's stepfather. So they've known each other. The Farnsworths, the Boyers, and the Francevies have known each other at least since 2014. On paper, we could keep looking and go backwards, but it is very likely, obviously, given how close Tyler Boyer is to these men, that they all knew each other going back to 2014. I think likely earlier, if I am being honest. I have an indication that it was actually earlier, but this is on paper. So let's stick to the facts. Anyways, Eddie Farnsworth is an interesting character because the year prior, in 2013, Eddie Farnsworth was, as I said, the chair of the House Judiciary Committee. And he caused a bit of a kerfluffle in the state because for some unknown reason, he blocked a hearing on a bill to prevent child sex trafficking. And he was the wrong person to do this because he had been in the news years earlier because his nephew, Albert Farnsworth, had raped a 13-year-old. Okay. Now, on this topic of this child sex trafficking bill, which he didn't bring it down to the floor for a vote. And it had support from Democrats and Republicans because it is a problem in this state. Child sex trafficking is a problem in the state of Arizona because the border is there. And they were trying to do something about it to make it so that it was less easy for people to traffic children. I think specifically ages 15 and 16. And I want to say that never in my life, in my political life, have I worked on a single story where a theme of child sex trafficking has emerged more. I've never seen it in my life, okay? Whether it's the people who own the planes, remember the 888 plane, they run an anti-child sex trafficking charity. Also, in their profile pictures, they're wearing a T-shirt from another child sex trafficking charity, Operation Underground. And you will recall that following the assassination, Phil Lyman was speaking to the guy that used to run, I'm blanking on his name, Tim Ballard. That's his name, Tim Ballard. He used to run Operation Underground because he had gotten donation and support from Glenn Beck for Operation Underground. He was involved in that. I remember because I interviewed Tim Ballard about Operation Underground. Fort Huachuca Base, which has randomly come up because of Mitch. In general, they also are caught up in a child porn ring. That's a real story that has been an issue at Huachuca Base. And I'm showing you this article from CBS News. U.S. Army missed the red flags about a civilian leader who led a child porn ring and risked U.S. security. That person's name was David Frodsham. He was a top civilian commander at a U.S. air base in Afghanistan. You can go on and you can see that it says that after he left his post, he returned to Fort Huachuca, which is a major Army installation in Arizona, blah, blah, blah. There is also Fort Huachuca Base, which gets involved in a scandal relating to child sex trafficking, where Turning Point USA has their base, where they actually decided to put the campus, if you will, Turning Point USA, just outside, literally across the way. There's a place known as Arizona Mills, which is like the #1 place for child sex trafficking, just like across the street. I want to be very clear here. I'm saying that I am making no connection there. I am not suggesting that Turning Point USA is trafficking children. I just want to be very clear. I'm just saying that everywhere I look in this story, themes of child sex trafficking come up, okay? Anyway, I am wondering regarding Eddie Farnsworth if it is possible that Mitch saw him because he's a dead ringer for Mark Amadei. When I saw this, I was like, whoa, doppelganger. This man looks like Mark Amadei. I sent it to Mitch and he said, yes, this man looks very familiar. Again, these are not the people that he contacted me about, but I would like to find out if this could be a connection. I'd like to see if it's possible because the Farnsworth family has deep military ties as well. I legitimately do not know. I am not making an accusation here. I personally think he looks a lot like Mark Amadei. And as a final point, interestingly enough, connecting a final dot here, Arizona politicians happened to travel down to the Davis-Monthan base for their annual Commanders Summit, where Arizona community leaders meet with military men. This is very close. This is about, Mark, what is this, 40 minutes away from Fort Huachuca?
It's a little over an hour north in Tucson.
Okay, in Tucson. They happened to travel here for their annual Commander Summit on September 9th. That happened. You can see this. We're pulling this up on the Davis-Monthan Air Force Base website. It says that they kicked off their Arizona Commanders Summit on September 9th, which provides an opportunity for military commanders and Arizona community leaders to discuss topics impacting military installations. Again, that could obviously just be a coincidence, but it's interesting. It would give them an excuse to be in that region. And so I'd like to know more because the Farnsworth family is coming up too much. Terrell Farnsworth's wife, by the way, people on the internet discovered this. And I'm going to get the name. I don't want to get this name right. I'm going to get this name right. I mean, I don't want to get it wrong. His father-in-law is Thomas Burt, who ran Duncan Aviation. The FBO, I told you, that rented the cars for the feds. He actually ran Duncan Aviation as the executive vice president and COO for 22 years. Now, he did retire. He retired in 2019. There's just a lot of connections here that I think should be explored more about the Farnsworth family and the Boyer family. And I want to put this out here because something just, like I said, rubbed me the wrong way when I spoke to Terrell, and I can't let that feeling go. I think that Terrell knows more. Yeah, that was my vibe when I got off of the phone. So, all right, you guys. So yesterday, we didn't really break the story. We just were kind of responding, I guess. We were very confused. Normally, we do this show at 4 p.m. Eastern, and it looked like the Daily Wire was teasing something on my channels, which they brought back, and then they released stuff on my old Instagram channels. And I guess it was supposed to be like a clever way of I don't know. I actually don't know at all what they were thinking, but it got them some attention. And then we were able to very quickly determine, because the tips box is just absolutely savage, that what's been in the works is that Daily Wire has been casting people for a show that's designed specifically to make fun of me and also Tucker Carlson. Okay. Now, in general, I would say the Daily Wire has been in a casting rut, trying to find the new Brett Cooper, probably for well over a year now. It's not easy to find raw talent like that. And I think really at long last, they found someone that they think might work, except rather than being bubbly and kind, the idea is she's going to be a bit manic, over the top, and of course, a little bit bitchy and mean, right? Because if you're noticing, that's kind of the new Zionist bent, sort of this, and we've shown you clips in the show, like, you can't sit with us, we're cool, like you're broke if you don't like what we do, and we're hot and you're not, like the Hampton Summit, and they're like talking about how much money they have. Another brilliant PR ploy from a country that's mass murdering innocent children. Like, you can't sit with us. Never occurs with them that we just don't want to sit with them. That's kind of the whole point of what we're doing. Anyway, before Maddie, they apparently tried out other people for this role. They had considered a show, putting together a show that would make fun of me and Tucker Carlson. They tossed around 3 other people. They even considered doing a combination show with a person who had played the bailiff on Matt Walsh's Judged, and that didn't wind up panning out. Now, Maddie was then landed upon, and they decided, because we're really going to stick it to Candace, we're going to have her name the show In the No-No. Haha, get it? Candace says we don't know, but we know. Ben's on stage saying that expression is retarded. And now we're just going to bring this show to life and give it sort of a Nickelodeon iCarly vibe, but it's the Daily Wire, but they don't have a kids department anymore, but this kind of feels like Nickelodeon, but it's iCarly meets politics, which is just kind of wrong. And the idea is we're going to take Candace clips out of context to make it seem weird. And I'm going to show you it. I'm going to show you guys so you could see it. To tee this clip up, she is going to really dramatize me discussing the history of Utah's state flag. Now, I don't know if I'm getting old. I am, actually. I do know I'm getting old. And in my ripe old age, I'm interested in history. I'm interested in learning about flags, and the history of their Beehive flag is what I presented on my show. And Maddie in the no is really gonna mock me. So let's take a look at it. Idea that the Utah state flag is a hexagonal beehive.
All right, let's try this. Let's really try this, okay? Chronologically. Utah adopts the beehive symbol in 1948. Fast forward 175 years later, people start using bee language as codes.
And I communicate with them by dancing.
People that use the code, they're clearly communists because communists work together. They follow a hive mind. Yes, queen. Underground, communists. Mormons live in Utah. I watched The Secret Lives of Mormon Wives. I know what's going on here.
They've always been known as the Beehive State. And to be clear, it's not because they make honey. It's not because they have a high presence of bees. In fact, in terms of making honey or bee-related products, they rank number 24. It's actually the Beehive State. It relates to the Mormon Church, the Church of Latter-day Saints. Early Mormon pioneers founded that state, and they liked the idea of a beehive working toward a common good. Now, if that sounds vaguely familiar or communist to you, the idea of worker bees, yes, that's where it's from.
Did the Mormons know that the bees were commies in 1948? Did anybody watch that South Park episode? You know what? None of this matters. Let's get to her conclusion.
It's really good. It's really good. It's really sweet. So funny. It's like very original. I would say she's clever as a fox. Plus teach her why we use that particular simile, but I can tell that facts about animal symbolism and history are obviously not her thing. So I guess the idea is Candace is discussing the state flag and she's using that as proof that Charlie was murdered or something. And it's interesting. It's a vibe. Anyway, wanted to show you that because the Daily Wire continues to exhibit stalker vibes. This is not normal. I am now telling people that Ben Shapiro is my psycho ex-boyfriend because that's what this feels like. None of this is normal. We don't have to pretend this is normal. Nothing that has happened since I have left that company is normal. Not how I left the company. Not the glorious town hall, the slave hanging, teach everybody a lesson. Like, it's psycho ex-boyfriend. It's the ex-boyfriend that breaks up with you, blasts a message to all of your friends, says, come look, here's why I did it. I hate her. And you're like, okay, I guess this is over. That's fine. I'm gonna move on to my life. And then you try to move on in your life. And like he's sliding into the DMs of everybody saying you can't deal with, don't speak to her. She's terrible. I'm gonna smear her. I'm gonna tell you what she is. I hate her. And it's like, okay, fine. That's okay. I'm happy to move on in my life. And it's like, I'm gonna sue you. I get everything. The apartment we share, the car you're gonna leave, you're gonna have nothing. Okay, that's fine. Take it. I'd like to just move on in my life. I'm gonna sue you again because I'm upset about something else. Okay, fine. I would really just like to move on and close this chapter in my life. Then all of a sudden, he's like jumping onto stages.